my name's Maddie.
And my name is Roy, and we're going to be doing a Mexican Muralism podcast for Art 312, which is modern art. For the overview of this podcast, we're going to be discussing the history and the biography of Jose Clemente Orozco.
Yes, Roy, that is what we're going to be talking about. Mexican muralism started after the Mexican Revolution when Mexico was in a state of depression and didn't have a sense of identity. The government wanted to do something that would give the citizens of Mexico a sense of hope and culture. So they commissioned many artists to do murals for them, for the public. 3 artists who ended up becoming very important to this movement were dubbed Los Tres Grandes. These artists were Diego Rivera, Jose Clemente Orozco, David Alfaro Siqueiros. These artists were able to deliver what Mexico needed to become staple examples for Mexican muralism and later inspired modern artists and muralists.
Well, actually, did you know the first mural made that was commissioned by the government is located in Jesuit Institución Colegio San Ildefonso in Mexico City?
No, I didn't know it was made by in Mexico City.
Okay. Anyways, we're gonna slow it down and start discussing one of Los Tres Grandes that we both decided to really focus on, and that would be Jose Clemente Orozco. So, Jose Clemente Orozco was born November 23rd, 1833.
Boring. Did you know he lost his left hand at the age of 17? Quoted from Britannica, he lost his left hand in a laboratory accident, and he abandoned his architectural studies because of it.
I mean, yeah, he did. The only reason that information is important is because it completely changed the trajectory of his career. He was only doing what his father wanted. Quoted from Britannica right before your quote, his father wanted him to study to become an agronomist and later an architectural draftsman. Him losing his hand gave him the chance to actually do what he wanted instead. Orozco went back to school to pursue painting in 1907. In 1910, he became an illustrator for a newspaper written by his professor and mentor, Dr. Al, before getting into murals. His caricatures represented a lot of the political happenings of the time, including, but not limited, to the Mexican Revolution. After quite literally losing a part of himself, he was able to use this art as an outlet to express a new side of him. Despite the inexperience in murals, Orozco was brought in to become one of the muralists commissioned by the government after the Mexican Revolution, like you had previously mentioned, Maddie.
Well, Roy, it worked out pretty successfully, didn't it? It worked so well, in fact, that at some point public commissions slowed, which meant Mexican muralists started to look elsewhere for work. From Pomona EDU, by the end of the 1920s, the utopian experimental phase of mural art in Mexico had eroded, and public commissions became rare. This meant that many of the muralists that once relied on the government to give them work now had to find other ways to fund their projects.
So many of the Mexican muralists, including Orozco, moved to America to seek more work.
Haters want to hate. He also left because he experienced a lot of hate from those who gave him public opinions on his art.
Anyways, according to Britannica, he was commissioned in 1930 to paint a major mural in the refectory of Pomona College in Claremont, California. In choosing to do a mural of Prometheus, Orozco temporarily abandoned social criticism and historical subjects in favor of a more universal theme, the sacrificing titan from ancient Greek mythology who brings man fire. This is actually one of the works he is most known for now. With more recognition, he went back to Mexico and made more murals in Guadalajara.
Now that we have a better understanding of the artist, let's do a deep dive into 3 murals that we have chosen to discuss and personally analyze, starting off with Prometheus from 1930 at Pomona College. The piece itself, as it's describing, is of a very large naked man who is in the foreground of the piece and in the center. His hands seem to be meshed into the sky while onlookers that are in the background look away or watch in shock as this happens.
So, what seems to be happening in this piece is that the middle person, I'm assuming is Prometheus, is giving fire to the earth, and it's supposed to be a self-sacrificing sort of thing from what we had read before in Britannica. And it seems that his use of line helps create this sharpness and horror to the piece. As you can see, there are a lot of sharp edges. There are triangles and lines that are very harsh that all point to Prometheus's hands that seem to really show that this is something that's really horrible happening, but it's something that he seemed to want to do in order to protect the people.
I agree with that because, like, when you're looking at it, there's just a sense of dread while looking at it. You can see everybody's faces and it doesn't look like a great time, but at the same time, they're all looking up like they expect something to just drop on top of them, or that there's gonna be something dangerous. Like, we see 2 people in the bottom left-hand corner who are holding on to each other, like in fear. And the shading of it, there's a lot of black. There's a lot of black used for the shadow, and it makes it very dark and very horrifying.
Yeah, I also really love his use of complementary colors because you can see a lot of orange and blue at the same time. And I feel like it really helps create this effect of just chaos. You can even see in the background a lot of the dull people in the background where it's just kind of more gray toned. These people have their arms raising up, seeming to either be worshipping the sky or trying to even help out Prometheus during this hard time.
Or it can even be like taken in a way where they're shielding themselves from something that's about to come at them from the sky. You can see in the bottom right too, or the bottom right corner, there's also this just mesh of terrified faces that are they're just melting into each other almost.
Yeah, you can see the anguish in their faces as this is happening, as if they are also becoming part of the fire.
And I just wanted to add on a little bit more of the technique and skill that was used behind this. All the brushstrokes seem to be very rushed, and that just adds to the urgency and the direness that this situation that these people are depicted in. The warm colors just like make it feel like they're in hell, and that and red is usually used as like a very urgent color too. But then we get these hints of like blue in both of the corners at the bottom, and I think it just really balances it out really well. The second piece we will be analyzing is The Clowns of War Arguing in Hell, 1944 at Guadalajara, Mexico.
So, a description of this would be many men arguing at each other. There are men pointing at each other, some screaming, some pushing the other, just making gestures at one another, and everyone seeming like they're in anguish, but they won't stop.
This piece does a really great job at evoking the sense of fear with both its technique and the subject matter it depicts. We see Nazis and presumably religious people that are fighting each other because we see these swastikas and these crosses put throughout these pieces. And we also see a lot of splatter marks that just make it seem a lot more gory than it actually is. We barely see any people bleeding themselves, but we see in the background just a lot of splattering, and we also see, just like the other piece, a lot of harsh brushstrokes that are used to shade the figures and create more depth within them without just black shadows all over them. So the fact that it looks rushed makes it have a sense of movement also, where you can just feel the swing of their hammers against each other and the sickles being thrown.
We can even see again that Orozco uses complementary colors in his composition. In the bottom left corner, we can see what seems to be clergyman, maybe, with red and green on his shirt, and the red continues on the crosses and people pointing at these crosses. And even on the top, in the middle right corner, we can even see a man who looks like a caricature of an actual clown. And on the left middle, we can also see someone else with that same collar of a clown. And it really shows the history of his formal work as a caricature artist in newspapers before he even started murals.
The final piece we'll be analyzing is Maternity from 1923 to 24 at Mexico City.
Okay, so to describe this piece, there are 4 women in flowing dresses above a naked woman kissing her naked infant child, and at the bottom there seems to be another woman staring at this same woman as well.
What I really like about this piece is that it's a great example for how he reserved his quick brush movements for only the pieces that really deserve to embody the anxiety and give pieces more motion when they seem to be showing something a lot more dire. And in this piece, it's a lot more calm and peaceful. Also with its color scheme, it is also a lot less saturated, and it's more a pastel color scheme.
Something to mention is that Maternity is the first fresco / mural that he has created, and a lot of the ideas he used was from watercolor, which is one of his favorite mediums. So all of the pastel and the calmness of this piece is very much inspired by his schooling. Overall, José Clemente Orozco made a very big impact on modern Mexican muralism as we know it now. He left a very profound impact on modern art through his socially charged murals that captured the struggles and spirit of Mexican Revolution. His work challenged political and social norms and influenced public perception and inspired future generations of muralists.
Thank you so much for watching the video. If you liked the video, punch the like button in the face like a boss. High fives all around. And I'll see you, Professor, in the next class. In the next class!